So your Toyota is stuck in park. Nothing you do will get this thing shifted into gear. Well, I'm going to show you how I fix this for free quickly, and I'm also going to show you if it's not the fuse under the dash. There's another step that I took that worked, and so stick around. Let's get into it. This is Keith, and thanks for stopping by the channel. So another thing that happens here with a problem like this is sometimes the brake lights go out. So I'm simulating pressing the brake, the car is running, and sure enough, there's no brake lights in the back. So that is another sign something is really wrong. So I'm going to use the manual tow release, and most vehicles have one of these by the gear shift, and I'm sticking a key in there. And so by doing this, I'm actually able to get the vehicle into gear, which is great. But the problem is the minute I turn the key off and try to start the car again, the same thing happens again. So I've got to check further and find out what's going on. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn off the car, and I'm going to look in the fuse compartment. And so underneath here, I checked every fuse, and I did not find any of these that were blown. The thing that you need to know though is, depending on your model of Toyota and year, you may be looking for certain fuses that aren't here that you expect to be here, and that's the next step we're going to take in a minute. I'm going to show you where those are. Something to point out first, this car is a fairly new entry into our household, and when I checked these fuses, I saw that the last owner had a couple of these fuses flipped around. So the accessory and the wiper fuse, he actually, or whoever owned this vehicle, had that 20 and 15 fuse switched, and that's not good for your car. So I put them back the way they're supposed to be, and of course that doesn't really fix this particular problem, but it is still something that you need to pay attention when you're looking at fuses. So now we're under the hood, and on this Toyota, it's right by the battery. There's a second fuse panel, all kinds of good stuff in there. You can see many fuses in there. And the ones that you can kind of check and test yourself are the small ones. And so that is what I'm going to do. I'm using a small pliers, but you do have to be careful that you don't stick the metal tips all the way down into where the metal fuse part is. And this pliers works good for me because I'm experienced with using it, and it's just easier for me to grip. And on that fuse, you can see it is not blown. So I did go ahead and check all of the fuses here, and I paid special attention to the one that says stop. And so we're going to get to that in a second, but in most cars they give you this little plastic emergency fuse puller, and it's in different places depending on different cars. Sometimes they're underneath the dash. But this one, what's nice about it is plastic, so you're not going to short anything out. But the problem is it's very easy to drop the fuses like I just did. And it also doesn't, it's so small it doesn't always give you the strength to pull the fuse, especially if these fuses have been in your car for, you know, years. And so here you can see I'm pushing this one back in. So far I have not come across a blown fuse. But as I showed you a minute ago, I am interested especially in the one that says stop, that 10 amp fuse right there. And so I'm going to pull that one and take a look at it. So you can see it's a little more difficult with the plastic one, and look, sure enough, it is blown. I'll put it under a light so you can really see it. See that missing piece of metal there that should be connected? That is a blown fuse. Well, lucky for me, there was a spare fuse in this box. And as I said, this is a car that's kind of new in our household, and got lucky here and had a spare 10 amp fuse. Put that sucker in, and let's try this thing out. So I'm putting this back together, really hoping that this does the job for me. Back inside, give her a start. And look at that. Success. And we're driving, and I did not have to use the emergency key release. Alright, well, let's check the brake pedal and see if we got brake lights. And we do. So just an update, 2 weeks later, everything's working fine, and there hasn't been any more fuses blowing, so the vehicle is fixed. It was free and easy. So what are your symptoms? Tell me what kind of issues you've got going on with your car locked in park. I'd love to have you post a comment below. And if you're new here, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It does help me out, man. Thanks. I'll see you in the next one.